Okay, today I want to discuss Ravenswood. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because dear old Sandy Martin has been piping up in the House of Commons again. So he did a speech not so long ago, I think it was last week, and it was about housing, homelessness, and the fact that we have a shortage of housing. And I watched this quite closely because I believe there is a shortage of housing, and that I do believe that we have an issue with homelessness. But I also expected Sandy to not take any responsibility, and I was correct. He doesn't take any responsibility for the fact that his party, the Labour administration, have not been reaching their own targets when it comes to housing. He also went as far as mentioning Ravenswood, and shocker, he has blamed the Conservative government for blocking building any more houses on Ravenswood. So here's the clip I'm talking about.
But the opposition of my predecessor was not always ineffective. We had a development of 94 new council homes at the 1,300 home Ravenswood estate, which was blocked. It had gone through planning application, it had gone through appeal, but my predecessor went to the Conservative Secretary of State and persuaded him to block the building of the 94 council homes on the grounds that 20 of them should be shared ownership. £300,000 of council money was wasted on the abortive preparation work, and £1.5 million of HCA funding was lost to my constituency as a result.
So interesting clip there. Now, the reason I'm discussing this is because Labour have got a way of always blaming someone else. They never take any responsibility, as far as I'm aware, and that clip just proves everything. See, the story is true in as far as the Secretary of State got involved, and that they ruled in favour of the residents, that the split that Labour were proposing went against their own local plan. Now, the local plan, the way Ravenswood has been built, is that there should be a 68% to 32% split in terms of privately owned and your affordable and social housing split. And so the way that it's been built is that it would encourage integration. It would help with pepper potting, so that you don't have big clusters of, the same people. It's all integrated, and the idea is to have mixed communities and to encourage this integration. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people, and I include myself in that, bought a house in Ravenswood, is that we wanted this new way of living, because that's again how it was presented, that there wasn't going to be clusters everywhere, and we were all going to be integrated and have a really good sense of community from people with all backgrounds and all walks of life. I believe what's actually happened is that there's a couple of plots of land left on Ravenswood, and Labour are under a lot of pressure. Labour Ipswich Borough Council are under a lot of pressure to reach their targets, because at present they're not reaching their targets in terms of building homes. There is a shortage of homes, and so in panic they've decided that they're going to just whack a load of social housing in one cluster of Ravenswood. And I think they thought they were going to get away with it, actually. But what they didn't realise is the type of residents that we have in Ravenswood, and they're fantastic, and they know the development and they know the plans, and they've got their ear to the ground on this one. So when it was discovered that it was going to be 94 social housing right next to another area where there was a small cluster of social housing, which meant that once these houses are built on the UVW site, there's going to be 115 social housing in one small area. And the residents were like, well, we're not going to have any of this, actually. So they clubbed together and they paid for solicitors, and they tried to open up talks with Ipswich Borough Council. Now, the council weren't backing down, they weren't changing their plans, so then it went as far as the Secretary of State, who got involved and blocked the development. They blocked the continuation of the building, and that was because they agreed with the residents, and that was the split. So no one's against social housing, no one's against building on the UVW site because it's there ready and waiting. What we're against is that the Labour administration have decided to ignore their own local plan, ignore their own vision of what Ravenswood was supposed to be about, and completely abandon basically the idea and the premise behind Ravenswood in order to reach some targets. And so that was why it was blocked. Why Labour continue to bring up Ravenswood as some form of tool against the Conservative Party is absolutely ridiculous. Why they refuse to acknowledge that they have made a mistake and that the way they were going to build on the UVW site went against their own rules is beyond me. And I don't know how many times I actually need to be at a meeting where I actually say to these councillors that bring up Ravenswood as if it's just, you know, something from the past, that, you know, you've had an argument with your partner and you bring up the fact that they've never put the bins out. I mean, it's constantly being brought up, and it's absolutely to my dismay, because they're not listening. They're absolutely not listening to the residents, and they are so desperate to build on that site, and they're desperate to build that particular number, that they really don't care who they're alienating. And so I just kind of wanted to put the record straight. The ruling, so I've got a bit of the ruling here. So the reason the Secretary of State ruled in the way that they did was, in summary, policy DM24 in the adopted CS states that criterion that affordable housing should not generally be grouped in clusters of more than 12 to 15 units. So 12 to 15 units is the recommended. However, the Labour-led council want to build 94. So that's a little bit different. It goes on to say that basically that because of the 94 affordable units, this would conflict with the objective of policy DM24. Paragraph 50 of the framework to create inclusive and mixed communities. So basically the Secretary of State agrees with the residents that Labour are going against their own policy. Sandy Martin also mentions the £1.5 million of HCA funding, and he's presented it in a way that says that it's just money wasted. So we've tried to build on this, we've got a shortage of housing, and then this massive amount of money has been wasted. I could be wrong on this, but I am under the impression that this has been reallocated, so I don't believe it's wasted money at all. Again, I'm not 100% sure on it. It's just information that I was given from some Labour councillors that this has been reallocated, and some of the other residents actually believe that to be the case also. I really don't understand why they're going against their own strategic plan. So the dates are 2017 to 2022. Their strategic plan is that the targets for new estates in the borough is aimed to be 65.8% private housing and 34.2% social housing. It's on their website. I mean, I just don't know what more we need to do about this. But this is something that I just wanted to discuss this morning and highlight, that, you know, this isn't the nasty Tory party and the nasty Conservative government that want to stop housing. The housing crisis that we have in Ipswich is because of the Labour administration. Housing probably would have, the building probably would have started by now had they have just stuck with their own local plan. The residents aren't against building on it, they're against the split, and the Conservative Party aren't against building on it, they're against the split. In terms of the other issues that Sandy Martin raises, maybe if their own local policy of making sure that everyone else other than Ipswich residents were housed and supported, maybe if we changed that and looked at that, that would also help us with our crisis. But I am absolutely sick to the back teeth of this idea that it's everyone else's fault apart from Labour's. So I just wanted to call that out today and give a true picture of what's going on in the Ravenswood development. And my belief is that the fact that we've got a housing crisis in Ipswich is because of the incompetent Labour administration. So there we go, I've had my say. Enjoy the rest of your day.